The corridors of justice now. The Supreme Court will this afternoon rule on a petition against the election of Wajir Governor Mohamed Abdi. The top court has been on the spot over the delay in making known its decision, with the case having gone on for more than a year. The petition, the only remaining one at the Supreme Court that concerns a governor, has turned out to be one of the most controversial. After the poll, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IEBC) declared Abdi, former Kenyan ambassador to Saudi Arabia, the winner, and he defeated his closest rival Ahmed Abdullahi, while Ahmed Mohamed, Party of Development and Reforms, emerged third in what was seen as the most competitive contest in the county's history. Now, NTV's Silas Apollo joins us live from the Supreme Court. Silas, what are the issues?
All right, Gladys, yes, the Supreme Court is this afternoon expected to give a ruling, of course, on the petition that is challenging the election of Wajir Governor Mohamed Abdi. Of course, the petition had been filed by his rival Ahmed Abdullahi, of course, who was the governor in the first term of devolution. Of course, it's been an issue that has been happening. Of course, I remember also that Mohamed Abdi was the first governor, of course, to be whose election was challenged. Of course, he was the first governor to lose his seat after his opponent, of course, moved to the High Court, challenging the elections. Part of the grounds that he was challenging the elections was on that the election, there were massive irregularities in the election, and that Mr. Abdi, of course, was not cleared to run for the election. So he had moved to the High Court. Of course, the High Court agreed with his petition, of course, and annulled the election of Mohamed Abdi. Of course, Abdi was not satisfied with the decision by the High Court, so he had to move to the Supreme Court, arguing, of course, that the High Court had no jurisdiction. Another jurisdiction, the High Court nullified his elections, not based on the law, but based on a small threshold, of course, that was presented as evidence by his opponent. Of course, the Court of Appeal, of course, also agreed with the decision of the High Court and, of course, annulled the elections once more. So, of course, it's after that then that he had to move to the Supreme Court to ask the Supreme Court to look into the issues that had been determined by the High Court and even the Courts of Appeal. He says that his election was done according to, of course, the set standards by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, which his challenger was opposing, of course. You can remember that, of course, it's been an interesting, of course, petition. I remember both the petitioner, of course, and the governor have been represented by one of the most senior lawyers in this country, that is Fred Ngatia, and Ahmed Nasser Abdullahi. Of course, it's been an interesting debate, of course, and an interesting argument in the courts, of course, each side trying to prove its case. And so today we expect the Supreme Court to give us a verdict on whether it agrees with the decision by the Court of Appeal or the decision by the High Court, or whether it disagrees. But also you can remember that, of course, this is the last petition that the Supreme Court is expected to deliver on in terms of election petitions, and that is on governors. And of course, going by the trends that have been witnessed in the last rulings, of course, most of the elections of governors have been upheld by the Supreme Court, the last one being that of Mohamed Abdi Governor Cyprian Awiti. And so we expect the Supreme Court to give us that decision. We don't know whether it's going to uphold this election, of course, or it's going to have to go with the decision that was made by the Court of Appeal. So we expect a lot to be happening. Of course, remember, of course, the judiciary has also been criticized for delaying some of the judgments. Of course, it has defended itself, saying that it was within the 90-day limit. And so there's no cause for alarm, or there's no need for worry. Of course, the other development is that the Wajir County, this Wajir County petition has also been a matter of concern for residents of Wajir. If you remember, just a few weeks ago, the county senator, of course, raised a lot of concern, saying that the petition and the stalemate that came with the petition has stalled development in the county, and so they want it to be expedited, of course, as soon as possible. So we'll be keeping tabs just to know what happens, and so we'll be updating in our subsequent bulletin on the decision by the Supreme Court. Back to you, Gladys.